All right. Okay. I mean, started like a minute early, but all right. Is Dr. Megan Daly. I am a member of the CMFA crew, which is why I'm on for Fitness Athlete Friday. I also help out with spine and extremity. So first off, Fitness Athlete Friday, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that another one of our team members, Kelly Bimphy, is competing in the Granite Games this weekend. I actually don't know her heat times off the top of my head, but hopefully she'll be posting them. So go creep on her Instagram, show her some love today and all this weekend and see what times she's going. Make sure to watch her compete. That's going to be pretty awesome. All right. We've got a couple courses this weekend, but then upcoming June 11th, runner is in Casper, Wyoming. We've got modern management of the older adult running 2 next weekend in Arizona and Florida. I think there might be a seat or 2 left in one of those, so go grab that. And then the next weekend, CMFA is headed to Boise. So I'm pretty pumped about that one. Bunch of courses if you look at the website. And then extremity, the next one that we have coming up is June 24th. And then if you're in the Arizona area, it will be coming. I'm in Arizona. It will be coming in August. So really excited to actually have Lindsay out here to teach it in my backyard, basically. So, all right, let's get going. So I'm going to be talking on my top 5 knee accessory drills, specifically accessory drills, like really overall for knee health. Like we know that there's giant benefits for squats, deadlifts, like all the major lifts. This is going to be accessory drills specific. And I'll go through kind of like my reasoning for each one. So the first one is the reverse Nordic. This is probably one of my favorite ones. If you ever grew up playing soccer, you did this drill, like where your teammate held your ankles down and you kind of like trust fall backwards into backwards into them. You also probably did the Nordic, which little teaser, that will be another one. All right, but the reverse Nordic, I love it because it's an area, it gets the quads eccentrically firing, and it gets into a range that we don't normally train the quads into. Like how often do you really train the full range of motion of the quads with your hips in extension? Not that often. If you think about it, they're always in flexion with squats, like pretty much every other motion. So I really love using this so that we can actually treat the full range of the quads. And then if we think about it, if you've ever had like that achy knee pain when you go and do squats, like if it's just a little ticked off, a little inflamed from, I don't know, maybe doing Murph on Monday, the reverse Nordic creates like a fluid pump, if you think about it, because when you lean all the way back into that end range of the reverse Nordic as far as you can, the amount of pressure in your knee is increasing. So when you come up and it has a lack of pressure there, fluid rushes in. So if you've been to an ice course for spine, you've probably heard us talk a lot about the fluid pump. This is very much going to be the case here with a lot of these exercises that I'm going to give, because they just get fluid moving through the joint. They allow blood flow, which helps a lot for knee health. But then we're also eccentrically loading the muscles. So we're getting that mobility and that stability strengthening into a lengthened position with that as well. So countless benefits. The second one, so first one's reverse Nordic. Second one, I'm going to jump to the Copenhagen Plank. It's probably one of my favorite drills, easily my favorite drill for the adductor. So anyone who has inner thigh issues, or really just, I like this even as a preventative, like if someone's worried about knee pain, which I'm sure we've heard a lot of patients come in talking about like, oh, I have bad knees, or oh, I had this knee injury when I was younger and I really don't want that to happen again, or oh, I'm avoiding X, Y, or Z because I don't want to risk knee pain. So that's kind of like what these drills are for. I love using them with people who have worry or like a past knee injury that they don't want to have come back. So the Copenhagen, if you don't know what these are, it's like, go look them up. They're really easy to find on Google or YouTube. There is actually a systematic review on Copenhagen and eccentric strengthening of the adductors. They also looked at the abductors. Just in 2021, by Shibor et al. And they found that not only did it increase eccentric strength of the adductors, but it also actually made a significant improvement in eccentric strength of the abductors, so their co-contractors, as well as it improved the ratio between the two, which we know that there's a lot to be said for like how the co-contractors actually work together and the ratio of their strength there. And then it increased adductor muscle activity like significantly, like 108%. So if someone's not getting, like if you want that muscle to really fire and get some huge benefits, the Copenhagen. The other great thing about this exercise, why I love it so much, because there's other drills we can do for adductors. Like you've got Cossack squats, you've got, I mean, the adductors fire with even just regular squats, lunges, that kind of thing. But I love the Copenhagen because it challenges. If you've ever done it, like you shake like a leaf, you really do. I mean, it's tough. This is kind of end stage loading, but it's so easy to regress and progress because if you think about the end stage, we want someone to be in that plank with their foot on the bench, but it's really easy to regress. If they're not there yet, shorten the lever arm. Maybe that bench is stabilizing them like above the knee. I mean, I've started someone at like mid thigh and then just progressively increased that lever arm by moving the bench down the leg so that they have to control more of their own body support. So that is easily my favorite one for the inner thigh. And there's so many huge benefits. I mean, there's tons of research on all of these. Third one, Nordic curl. So I kind of alluded to this earlier, mildly unintentionally, but probably one of my favorite one for hamstring and protective strengthening there. Overall, you'll notice a lot of these. The Nordic and the reverse Nordic are both eccentric loading, and eccentric training, specifically overload, has been shown to improve strength, power, speed, ability to change direction. They improve mobility, they all while decreasing injury risk. So there's this whole like slew of benefits to these exercises, to eccentrics. I mean, we know this as a general rule. As PTs, we use eccentrics a lot. So the reverse Nordic and the Nordic, I mean, pretty much immediately go on this list for me. The Nordic, think about like hamstring injuries. When do they normally happen? It's like that high velocity kicking during running, that like really strong, all of a sudden like lengthening position is typically where they would get injured. So why won't train into that position? And eccentrics do a great job on improving power and increasing the body's ability to handle that kind of motion all of a sudden. So I love that for that. If you look up videos for the Nordic curl, a lot of times you'll see people either having someone else hold their feet, or maybe they're doing it on the GHD. Props to the people that do that. It's still kind of like scared me. Like I'm just worried that my head's gonna like hit the bar. I know that's not gonna happen, but so the Nordic Stick, if you Google that, the Nordic Stick, that's a really cool contraption. There's no affiliation here. Like I'm not getting paid to say this. It's just a tool that Lindsay Huey actually introduced me to, and I absolutely love. And it's something that just hooks under the door and then gives you like a bar that you can wrap around your heels. The one thing I will say that you don't see a lot in like YouTube videos of the Nordic is a lot of people just put their feet flat. So like laces along the ground. Make sure that you actually keep the toes on the ground. So you keep your foot in dorsiflexion and really get the hamstrings and don't allow any compensation patterns there. So that one's key that a lot of people don't realize. Okay, number 4, the barbell hip thrust. Now I'm going to put a mild caveat here that after yesterday's hump day hustle, if you didn't get it, go jump on that. Go check out the article that I posted as far as the barbell glute bridge being a little bit better for glute strengthening than the barbell hip thrust. So my top 5 may change after I dive into that and play around with that a little bit. But currently I love the barbell hip thrust for that posterior loading. And then, like I said, I don't consider that necessarily one of like the major lifts, even though it kind of is. So that's why it goes into accessory drills. It's not in a lot of programming, especially for us CrossFitters. I think it did show up in Mayhem yesterday for the affiliate programming, but it's a little bit less common. So I think that's something that's really great to throw into someone's programming if they're not already regularly doing it. It helps so much as far as like the stronger our hips are, the more it unloads the knees. Like, that's kind of a blanket statement, but it's true. We want that strength. And the reason I went with the barbell hip thrust for like glute strength here instead of like a step up with a kettlebell in the opposite hand is because on the off chance that someone's having active pain or they're worried about knees, they're way more likely to do a hip thrust than they are a step up or a lunge or something where the knee is actually moving through that range of motion versus still getting the glute strength, but moving the hips through a range of motion. So, all right, fifth one. I'm going to cheat a little bit here. There's actually 6. But it's kind of like these have the same purpose, but is there active pain or is there not active pain? So I'll start with if there is active pain, I love the Spanish squat. That would be my go-to for, hey, let's still move you through a range of motion. Let's really get the strength going as far as get a quad pump going. If you've ever done a Spanish squat, like they are killer. Like just go try to hold one for 30 seconds and see how you're functioning or shaking really at that point. The Spanish squat is phenomenal. Like just a quick personal example even. So those of you who know me, I trail run, used to competitively trail run. I'm getting a little bit back into it now. And then there's a period of time before I switched to competing nationally in Olympic weightlifting where I was doing a little bit of both. I was still doing CrossFit. I was still doing Olympic lifting while I was trail running. And I have a history. I've had 3 knee surgeries. I've had a couple Oates grafts. So they periodically do flare up if I push it a little too hard. And one day I did. Multiple times, let's be real. And anytime that I pushed it a little hard and my knee would flare up, if I just went and did some Spanish squats, I would be able to still go lift heavy, like go do whatever I needed to do. It was almost like an immediate relief. Now I do want to say that that's specific for like that anterior, like patellar quad knee pain. If the adductors are the driver, then that's where you're going to go to Copenhagen's as far as like an active knee pain thing. But if there is something in the knee, like Spanish squats is a great one to unload that knee and to strengthen. Okay. So if you don't have knee pain currently, I love the Atg Split Squat as my like 5th to round out the accessory drills. It doesn't require nearly as much setup as the Spanish squat, which is also really nice. So if you're not familiar, because I feel like that's probably the one that most, like if anyone's like, wait, what's that? Basically, it's where you're doing a split squat, but you're purposefully driving that knee as far as you possibly can over the toes, even allowing the heel to come up off the ground. And so the reason that I love this, I mean, we talk about it a lot. You've probably heard the phrase from McKinsey, the magic happens at end range. That's, if you think about the exercises that I've given, the reverse Nordic, the Nordic, a lot of those also have this kind of in mind. So the Atg split squat, I mean, how often do we really under load push the knee into maximal flexion? Again, not very often. We really don't, like maybe depending on what your squat form is, you get there, but even then it's a little bit different loading. So this is purposefully driving the knee as far over the toes as you possibly can into its end range under load. Now you can do body weight, but then the idea would be to build like a goblet hold or something with that. You're not going to necessarily go max loads with this. Again, accessory drills. But we get that fluid pump through the knees by going all the way on and then coming off, and then going all the way on and coming off. So you get that fluid pump, that blood flow that just nourishes the knee and the ligaments and everything that we have in there and strengthens it at the same time. So it's going to be very protective. Because as we know, like if we don't train it, it's not going to be prepared for it. So that's the kind of thing where if we're worried at all about knee health, like let's train it in all planes and all directions at end range. Now I'm going to make a quick note because if you notice all of these exercises, they really are kind of in one plane of motion for the most part. So there's all kinds of other drills that I absolutely love that switch up planes of motion, that like pivot drills, that kind of stuff. But for the most part, for global, like top 5, no matter what your sport is, no matter what you like to do, like these would be it. So again, it's the reverse Nordic, the Copenhagen, the Nordic Curl, the Barbell Hip Thrust. And I do mean barbell. You want to go heavy with that one. And realistically, like you can start with a kettlebell or dumbbell, but it's just not going to be able to load up heavy enough to really truly challenge the tissues like you want for that strengthening. And then that 5th one, the Atg Split Squats, if there's no active knee pain, on the off chance that you do have an active flare-up, then I'm probably going to lean more towards my 5th choice being the Spanish squat, just because no one with active knee pain is going to enjoy doing the Atg Split Squat. And again, going back to like a lot of these are going to be that eccentric loading, which is going to give us a lot of strength, power, speed, so many benefits, and then decrease injury risk overall. Okay. I know that was like a very quick, very brief overview. I didn't want to make it research heavy. There's a lot of research on these. We all can go look it up. But I just kind of gave the conclusion version of all of those. So if there's any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments on either YouTube or Instagram. I'll check those periodically over the next couple of days just to see if there's any questions that I would like to answer or that you would like to have answered. It's a better way to say that. Other than that, happy Friday. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk soon. All right.